Nigeria has been blessed with a number of football tacticians, otherwise known as coaches. The generation that preceded the present generation was in fact one that witnessed the rise of many indigenous coaches who taught the game of football locally. Top among this list of coaches were Adegboye Onigbinde, Oke Amodu, Kadiri Ikana, Kashimao Laloko, Monday Sinclair, Tunde Disu, Christian Chukwu, Paul Hamilton, James Peters, Stephen Keshi, but undoubtedly top on this list was Amodu Shuaibu, one of only two indigenous coaches that have managed to qualify Nigeria for the FIFA World Cup. Amodu Shuaibu indeed qualified Nigeria for the World Cup twice, proving that his first achievement wasn't a fluke. This is the story of Amodu Shuaibu of blessed memory, the champion who was twice denied access to the promised. Born in Okwela, Esako East local government area of Edo State on April 18, 1958, Amodu was in his short but eventful life a professional footballer, successful coach, CAF instructor, and football administrator.
Late coach Shuaibu Amodu is one of the most respected coaches in the history of Nigeria. He's one of those coaches who coached the Super Eagles, while he was under 30. And one of the few coaches to have qualified Nigeria, for the World Cup and also won medals at the Nations Cup. So he's a well-respected coach.
Yeah, Amodu, the first time I met him, he cut across as somebody who is vast and knowledgeable of the game, about the game, and he made extra effort to really be able to imprint his style of football on the players that he handled at different time at the national team level. A very courageous person who is dynamic and is ready to upgrade his knowledge, and he did wonderfully well during his time with the national team.
Playing career. The little known about his playing career is that Amodu played football as a striker for Dumes FC and Niger Tornadoes before he got injured and couldn't continue with the art of playing football due to the sustained injury, which prompted him into coaching at a young age. Coaching career. Amodu has managed a number of club sides in Nigeria. He managed teams like BCC Lions of Boko, El Kanemi Warriors, Shooting Stars Sports Club, Orlando Pirates of South Africa. Amodu cut his teeth as a coach in a fascinating manner. As a 32-year-old, he masterminded a famous FA Cup win with the then relatively unknown BCC Lions of Boko. It was the first time in 36 years that a club not of the River Niger won the title, and it immediately catapulted this young coaching upstart into national acclaim, along with the players he had developed, the likes of Moses Paco, Bolaji Douglas, and the late Amir Angwe, among others. BCC Lions defeated Iwayawu National in 1989. For the records, Iwayawu was the hottest property in Nigerian football after the demise of Leventis United and Abiola Babes. The team lost in the finals of the CAF Champions Cup 1-4 in December to Atansati of Algeria. From the historic feat with BCC Lions on the domestic scene, Amodu later conquered the continent through the defunct Africa Cup Winners' Cup in 1990 with the Bandana Man Ben Surugede Ugu and other True Lions in Tunisia. The cup he only surrendered in the final of the defense, as he lost in the final as the defending champion to Zambia's Power Dynamos. On 4 occasions, he lifted the Challenge Cup with BCC Lions and El Kanemi Warriors of Maiduguri, recalling his treble from 1992 to 1994. Amodu's name is equivalent with rescue operations as he joined South African side Orlando Pirates. A year after, he was conscripted by the military administrator Colonel Ahmed Usman to salvage the Ibadan-based 3SC's CAF Champions Cup outing, and he modestly played in the final before losing on penalties to Zamalek through Demola Johnson's miss in the shootout in Cairo after a 3-all draw. Who can forget the bullet-packed free kick of Ajibade Kunde Babalade in the first leg? Not many from that generation will forget such a day.
جوه الجون لنادي الزمالك. شوف اهو لعب على يمين نادر وبره طلعها بره سامي شيشه. سامي ويلعبها جامده بره. ركله الترجيح الرابعه لنادي الزمالك. وجوه جول احمد الكاس. احمد الكاس جوه جول ركله الترجيح الرابعه.
For all Amodu's successes at the club level, it was only natural that he stepped into the national scene, and this progression was the beginning of the crisis for the man who never failed, but was always hounded by the powers that be.
During the time when so many people were still using the old methodology when it comes to coaching, he came up with new ideas, and he was able to lead the likes of Academy, BBC Lion of Boko, and not forgetting Sharks and so many other clubs in Nigeria to the APS of Nigerian football.
Amodu on 6 different occasions received SOS messages to bail out the Nigerian national team. Such was the valuation he had earned. And as a faithful compatriot, he obeyed and achieved whatever target was set before him. But instead of grace, it was disgrace galore that followed suit. Rising from the departure of the very successful Dutchman Clemens Wessel, the English national team, Three Lions, needed to learn a trick from the African champions Nigeria, who were as of then the 5th best footballing team in the world, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It was Amodu that was called upon to lead the Super Eagles to Wembley for his debut, which the Eagles lost 1-0. He equally led the team to Intercontinental Cup with a 4th place finish after losing the final spot to Argentina on goals difference, and 3rd place to Mexico on penalty shootout. He was unbeaten in that competition. The Okpela-born Amodu, with the duo of Joe Eriko and Stephen Keshi, were assistants to Bonfrey Joe, who was sacked after an unimaginable defeat of the Super Eagles in the hands of the Sierra Leonean Leone Stars in Freetown without the 3 points. It was to Amodu that the NFA turned to rescue the World Cup ticket for Nigeria, as the Liberian national team, bolstered by the power of George Weah and Ghana Black Stars, were threatening Nigeria's chances of qualifying for the World Cup. And the rest today is history, as the ticket was delivered by Shuaibu Amodu, who led the resurgence of the Super Eagles to qualify for the Korea-Japan FIFA World Cup in 2002 from the ashes of imminent defeat.
A los 18 minutos, Tijani Babangida se desprende de su marca y pone el 2-0 para Nigeria.
He however fell out spectacularly with the Nigerian media and Football Association officials despite being the first Nigerian to take the country to the World Cup. At the 2002 Nations Cup, a feud broke out between Amodu and his players on the one hand and the media on the other hand. Apart from accusations of very football, one major issue that was repeated was how he had tossed a tactical note written by Adegboye Onigbinde in the trash. According to him, "I saw the note, read it, and when I was finished, I threw it away. Did they expect me to frame it and keep it on the wall?" Amodu told Colin Udo in 2013. In his final spell as national team coach, the media consistently accused him of overlooking players from the domestic league in his selection. When the question came up at one press conference, Amodu responded by asking the assembled media to recommend 11 players for him right there and then. No one could. Here is one of such responses posed by the man.
What I said was that they were not good enough. That is true. It's not that they are not good. They are good, potentially. But they were not good enough for that stage, as it were. And if we were to rely on them, we would have blundered. because the home league, as it were, was not blessed with very, very capable and experienced coaches that will bring the boys to that level that will be playing at the Nations Cup or World Cup level.
That was typical Amodu, never afraid to return fire with fire, and it brought him trouble in 2002. There was plenty of blame to go round following Nigeria's disastrous performance at the 2002 Africa Cup of Nations in Mali that year. The press wanted access to the team, but Amodu, a media phobe, wanted his team shielded, feeling that they were being unfairly targeted by the local media. Amodu's squad chose to speak to foreign media instead. That spat did not end well.
For some people, they felt it was arrogant and he's not ready to really talk to the local media. There was one particular person who related an experience he had with Amodu Shuaibu, when the reporter was trying to interview him, and he said he spoke with BBC, he spoke with Eurosport, he spoke with them. There's nothing left for him to say, and the man was really agreed. But taking a retrospective look at their statement, I felt probably at that point in time he was tired, but different people have their own thoughts about Amodu Shuaibu.
He's easygoing, but he's strict, and he fears no one. As a journalist, I've interviewed him several times. I remember those days when he said local-based players are not good enough for the Super Eagles. He did it by his word, even though he knew the backlash that will follow that. So he's not scared to say what he believes in, and he's one of those coaches that have achieved so much, with the Super Eagles. So
Amodu was sacked and replaced with Festus Onigmide, who then proceeded to rip the team of some of its best players on the way to the World Cup. A first round exit with just 1 point was the result. However, the success Amodu recorded in 2002 by qualifying Nigeria for the World Cup could not be replicated 4 years later when Christian Chukwu handled the Super Eagles and they failed to qualify for the World Cup after losing out to the Panencras Negras of Angola, who stopped Nigeria from qualifying right there at the Sani Abacha Stadium in Kano. That was shocking. After the failure of not qualifying for the Germany 2006 World Cup, the Nigeria Football Association hired German coach Betty Vogts, seeking a new beginning for its national team. But reality struck again 2 years later at the Ghana 2008 Nations Cup, when Nigeria, after a non-impressive display, was embarrassingly knocked out of the competition by rivals Ghana. Betty Vogts had to pack his bags as he left the post. Few months later, in April precisely, it was time for another World Cup qualifying series. This time, it was the first ever World Cup to be played on African soil. The Nigeria Football Association received a presidential mandate that the Super Eagles must qualify for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Guess who they turned to again for salvation? It was to Amodu the nation turned to again to secure the 2010 tickets on African soil. And the mandate was clear: get us the World Cup tickets and AFCON semi-final spots. The cerebral Amodu, always top of his courses both home and abroad, promptly delivered the 2010 World Cup ticket for Nigeria against all odds, pipping Tunisia to the ticket in a keenly contested World Cup race. Here is how the Amodu Shuaibu's led Super Eagles qualified for the 2010 World Cup.
Nigeria have been drawn in Group B alongside Argentina, Korea Republic and Greece. They face a tough opening match against Argentina on June the 12th, then it's on to Bloemfontein to play Greece before taking on Korea Republic in Durban.
Nobody gave us a chance. I would say it was a miracle. Because so much people back home, they have lost hope on us,
Nigerians always say it's not over till it's over. But we didn't give up, on our dream. But it was hard. We started doubting that it's going to be possible.
At the end, we could, put our heads up to say we're in the World Cup.
Nigerian football is nothing if not dramatic. Despite the team's qualification for the FIFA World Cup, coach Shuaibu Amodu lost his job when Nigeria finished third at the Africa Cup of Nations in January. Nigeria turned to former Sweden boss Lars Lagerbäck. The 61-year-old led the Scandinavians for a decade, guiding them to the knockout rounds in 2002 and 2006. Maybe just what a fractious Nigeria team needs as it prepares for the first FIFA World Cup on African soil. After a tough qualifying campaign, expectations are diminished. But it was not so long ago that the Super Eagles were seen as the most likely African nation to challenge for the FIFA World Cup. Since making their World Cup debut in 1994, Nigeria have won admirers across the globe with the entertaining brand of football that took them to the second round in both 94 and France 98. In recent years, though, Nigeria have struggled, performing poorly in 2002 and failing to qualify in 2006. So the pressure was on Amodu and his team to return to football's biggest stage. They made light work of their second round qualifiers, winning 6 from 6. But the third round would provide much more of a challenge, with Nigeria drawn alongside Tunisia, Mozambique and Kenya. Nigeria were forced to play catch-up with the Tunisians after a surprising scoreless draw in their first match in Mozambique. A crucial double-header against Tunisia gave the Super Eagles a chance to make up the lost ground. The Kenyans clearly hadn't read the script, though, taking an early lead. With his team trailing at half-time and facing the prospect of missing out on their second consecutive World Cup finals, Amodu brought on Obafemi Martins. It proved to be a masterstroke, with Martins equalising on the hour. Minutes later, Yakubu put Amodu's man ahead. It was not to last long, though.
There was a lot of pressure, you know, when we were 2-1 up, like you're feeling things are going well, then you see the equalizer again. I'm like, you don't see what's happening? I said the World Cup is leaving me like in front of my eyes. I'm like, hey, I still have to hustle for my goal. We didn't give up, you know, on our dream. But it was hard. We started doubting that it's going to be possible.
But Nigerians, our mentality is we have to win. We're the best, we're the giants of Africa, we have to win. We must win.
Then, you know, the goal came, we were happy, but then we already knew that, you know, God is on our side, that it's meant to be for us to qualify. And after the final whistle, of course, the first thing is to look on the bench, the reaction on the bench, because we don't know what's happening in Mozambique. Then seeing everyone running in the pitch, I was all excited. I knew that, you know, it's done. And it was really a moment that we cannot forget.
After reaching South Africa so dramatically in their final qualifier, Nigeria go to the finals with a positive attitude. The African continent's most populous nation has enough talent to trouble the world's best and nothing to lose.
Anything that wants to play against Nigeria, they want to set a record for themselves. Because we know what we can do.
When the Nigerian team gets inspiration, they really can show world-class football, and you can just really, whoever you are, you just sit and enjoy it. If we get that inspiration during the tournament, I think we can surprise a lot of people.
Amodu Shuaibu also led Nigeria to a third-place finish at the 2010 Nations Cup before he got fired in February that same year, as the NFF once again denied him the opportunity of leading the Super Eagles to the global showpiece, the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa. The NFF soon after appointed Swedish Lars Lagerbäck the failed manager of the Sweden national team that could not qualify a Swiss team for the same World Cup Amodu sweated for. Amodu was demoted to serve as the coach of the Nigerian home-based Eagles. As if the above wasn't enough, Amodu also qualified the beach soccer national team for the 2006 FIFA World Cup, but didn't lead the team at the finals as he refused to travel to Rio de Janeiro. Even then, he had the foresight as far back as 2006 to recognize that Nigeria's conveyor belt of talent was not being maintained and that it would result in the Super Eagles weakening over time. And so, Amodu modified his tactics to take that gradual decline into consideration, adopting a less expansive brand of football. The fans and media didn't like it, but he helped out results and the numbers backed him up. In his first stints as Nigerian manager, he won 26 out of total 53 matches, drew 15 and lost 12, qualifying for 3 World Cups and making a podium finish at every Nations Cup he participated. That was the Mali 2002 Nations Cup, winning bronze medal, and the Angola 2010 Nations Cup, also winning a bronze medal.
Yakubu, and he scores using the eyes to deceive Shitu in goal, and Nigeria have the lead. Nwankwo Kanu coming off the bench to lead the celebrations. He's never won this tournament despite his long and illustrious career. Shitu started to go left. Yakubu sent it slightly to his right.
There has been neither a more controversial nor steely character prowling the Nigerian football touchline than Amodu Shuaibu. Officials, players and media regularly came away scattered either by his sharp tongue, burning stare or simple refusal to bend. And naturally so, Amodu was a man with an unshakable belief in himself and his ability. He would let nobody diminish his own sky-high valuation of himself and his intellect. Recently, some former players of the Super Eagles have made shocking revelations about unethical practices surrounding the national team from time immemorial. And one of such players is Osaze Odewinge, who played for Nigeria under Amodu Shuaibu between 2008 and 2010, and has alleged that Amodu Shuaibu did not only operated as a coach during his time, but Amodu also operated as a player agent. He said, and I quote, "He was in and out as a coach and agent, but he was a great man. I used to talk with him whenever I could about it. I loved him. We used to fall out at times with him when they changed our hotels to a very poor one in Abuja." An allegation on Amodu's personality, which Tolu and Bomi talked about.
The allegation made by Osaze Odewinge, I wouldn't want to wish it away, but also I want to say probably it's coming a little late because Shuaibu Amodu is no longer alive, and it will not be right for us to judge him in his absence. That's just what I want to say. If he was alive, I'm sure he would have answered Osaze Odewinge, and we could have easily, got the truth of the matter. For me, it's just unfortunate that Osaze is saying this at this time.
With meetings where the likes of Obasi and so many others have accused the technical crew led by Steve Keshi to 2014 World Cup of demanding money from them and so many other things like that. But Osaze Odewinge also coming out to say Amodu Shuaibu operated being a manager and being a football agent and also a coach. I think so many people have been doing that. No matter who you are, the agent will always come to you, and you always want to chip in 1 or 2 words to a player who the agent will likely be interested in to take his career to the next level. And I don't think anything's bad in it, because when we are using that to influence the crop of players that get invited to the national team, it's where I find so many things wrong with. Because coaches, agents do call coaches because they want an assessment of the player. They want to see how the coaches viewed a particular player, how the coach viewed a particular player. And I think at that point in time, so many coaches get to talk to some of these agents. So it's possible that he must have operated in that regard.
Amodu was appointed Technical Director of the Nigeria Football Federation in May 2013, a position that requires great knowledge of the game because a technical director is the one who shaped the football development of a country. He was also named Technical Director of Bendel Insurance FC in November 2013. He was reappointed Nigerian manager in October 2014, replacing Stephen Keshi, although he never coached. It was his fourth spell in charge of the country. Keshi returned to the role 2 weeks later but was fired in July 2015, and Amodu took over the Eagles again temporarily. He was replaced by Sunday Olise on a permanent basis later that month. Following the resignation of Sunday Olise, the NFF again appointed Amodu as the new interim coach of the national team. The new coaching crew alongside Amodu was made up of Salisu Ibrahim, Aloy Agu, Imama Amapakabo and Kennedy Boboye, although they had no official match to play. The death of Amodu Shuaibu was a big shock to many Nigerians. It rocked the football world as well. The former coach of the Super Eagles died in his sleep after complaining of chest pains on Friday night. He died aged 58. Amodu's death came 3 days after the death of former Super Eagles captain and coach Stephen Keshi. On the death of Amodu Shuaibu, the Nigeria Football Federation released a statement. The NFF statement said, Amodu's name was synonymous with the Super Eagles. You can't talk about the history of Super Eagles without Amodu getting prominent chapters. He qualified the Super Eagles for the FIFA World Cup in 2002 and 2010, but did not lead the team to the finals. He also qualified the beach soccer national team for the 2006 FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup, but did not lead the team at the finals as he refused to travel to Brazil. As technical director, he was known to be hypertensive and had rejected taking over the Super Eagles coaching job in February on this ground. Often described as arrogant, Amodu brought an arrogant disposition to the job at a time when local coaches were all too eager to bend to authority. He knew his worth and he made sure his employers did too. Here is the submission of our panel of analysts on Amodu's legacy.
I have a lot of respect for him in that, some of the things he achieved before he left, are the things some of us are still chasing, looking up to achieve. So for me, he's a legend, and he also found it very easy, to pass on knowledge, that he has acquired. Some of his lectures, his lectures were some of the best I've ever had, when it comes to coaching courses. I think we really miss him, in the country.
He left a lot of legacy behind. Considering the fact that his style of football is quite different. When you see Amodu Shuaibu team playing, you know this is Amodu Shuaibu, and that was what he was able to do with the likes of BBC Lion, Academy Warriors, and so many other clubs that he handled. You can see his imprint on his style, on his players, on the way he wants football to be played, and also the fact that he qualified the country twice for a World Cup and took us to so many championships and Nations Cup, won the Nations Cup bronze medal twice, shows his level of influence he had in the Nigeria football team. Until today, we are still talking about him. Even after his demise, a lot of people are still talking about it, that his vast knowledge of the game is quite massive, and the fact that at that point in time, he had so many ideas on what needed to be done to take Nigeria football to the next level was a major thing. He had a philosophy, he had a book that he did put together, the proposal that he put together that can really help Nigerian football to find their place in this game of things. Unfortunately, he couldn't have achieved that before his death.
The consolation is that Amodu chose not to toe the path of Hungarian-born Benfica manager Bela Gottman that allegedly placed a curse on the Syria Euro failure team after he was disrespected when asking for pay rise, as he famously declared, "Not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be European champions," which has remained till date after 8 consecutive agonizing Euro finals without success. Contrarily, Amodu, as the appointed technical director of the federation, was a poorly remunerated national team coach that never asked for a pay rise, but customarily owed wages even until death. Truly, Amodu Shuaibu was a genius the champion that was denied access to the promised land. This has been the story of late Amodu Shuaibu.